everybody, Alexander Thompson here with the Minimalist Entrepreneur. Now in this video we're going to be looking at three interesting no-code builders, Appgyver, Draftbit and Clutch. Now what do these three have in common? Well, they're all based on React and React Native. But with that said, each provides something very different and unique to themselves. We can be looking at their websites, their pricing and their visual builders. And at the end of the video, I will give you my verdict on my preference. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting with Appgyver, which is now part of SAP quite recently. And with Appgyver, you can actually build apps for all types. So we're looking at mobile, desktop, browser, and TV. So it supports both React and React Native, which is quite nice. So down here, you can see that with Appgyver, you can build it across all the different type of devices, and you only have to build the app once, which is the important part, right? So you create the app, you create the logic in that app, and then you just make sure that it runs on the different platforms, depending of course on the resolution and the size. And down here you can see a nice overview of what is provided with Appgyver. So you have the drag and drop interface, you have the logic in this visual way, which I kind of like more than Bubble. So for me, it was easier to understand the logic visual builder with Appgyver compared to Bubble. And as well with Appgyver, you don't have to rely on the database or backend database that Appgyver provides. You can very easily integrate with data with other backend solutions like Firebase, which actually they have native components for, or you can also do Sano. It just depends on what data you like to use. And then lastly, you have what they call Do Magic with over 400 formula functions. So with the formula functions, you can create a lot of the logic that maybe you cannot do so often in other no-code solutions. And they have, as we see here, they have a pretty solid customer base. So for example, DHL, which is Europe Trailer Fleet Management. So it's a very large company, actually used Composer Pro to build their mobile app. So that's a huge plus, I think, that such a big enterprise is actually using Appgyver. So Appgyver has proven to be used across different company sizes. So we have small solopreneurs using Appgyver, but also very, very large companies like DHL. So the crazy part of Appgyver is that it's free for life, which is insane, to be honest, when you look at what they actually offer. Beforehand, before SAP came into the picture, Appgyver was also free until that you have achieved 10 million in funding or 10 million in revenues, which is still pretty awesome. But now with the SAP acquisition, they recently announced that Appgyver will be free forever. Doesn't matter how big the company is or how much revenue you're generating. So inside the builder, it looks like this. So you can have multiple projects, as many projects as you want, to my understanding. There's no limit. And here, we have a test project. So when you open it up, on the left-hand side, you have the different components that you can use, which is the icon title, button, the layout, so container style, list, and so on. And then in the middle here, you then have the screen or the page that you're looking at. Now the page layout is not like Bubble, where you can just drag and drop wherever you want on the screen. It's more where you drag it and then it creates this vertical hierarchy on the page itself, which I personally prefer because that's much more common when it comes to development. And besides the core, you can also create your own components. You can also see which ones you have installed. So they have a component marketplace where you can add different ones as well. So here you can do a search. So if you click here, you can then see the different type of components, which is quite cool. Of course, they don't have like the level of Bubble, but they do have different types of components depending on what you're looking for. But it is relatively limited, I would still say. Now, what I do want to mention is that they don't have templates like I've seen in many other no-code builders, whether it's a Dalo, Bubble, or even more like Flutterflow, which for me is quite a shame with Appgyver. So, you kind of have to build everything from scratch. At least I have not seen personally any template being provided by them. What you also have here, so when you click on, so here you can see when you click on headline, it's the one on the page layout. Then you have the different properties and the style. So you have the dimensions, the typography, where you can then add the different things, the background and so on. And to be honest, it does a lot of the things that you need. So I personally have worked quite a bit with Appgyver in the past, and it's pretty straightforward and you kind of get most of the things that you need. And if you want to create some logic to, let's say, just a headline, actually no, let's do a button. So let's say here we have a button and you want to add some logic to it. This is one thing I like about Appgyver. For me, it seems more intuitive and easy to add logic to different components. So you just click on this here below, which just opens up. And here you can see the event component tab. So when someone clicks the button, you can then decide what type of flows do you want. Do you want to do navigation? Do you want to create some variables? Do you want to have a dialog? Do you want to create a spinner? So do you want to create some data, like a get data? Do you want to, update data, delete data, and so on? It's definitely heavily focused on mobile apps, I would say, compared to web apps. So the cool thing is also you have like scan QR code, GPS location. You can also look at the flow function market. So you can see, for example, you can have Firebase. So if you want to integrate with Firebase, they have very nice Firebase sort of native components that takes care of a lot of the things for you. So email, password authentication, getting the user. So just to show you one example here, you can just say we want to navigate to a new page. Well, we don't have a page at the moment, but all you could do would just click then, okay, what are the page that you want to use? And then here you would then have an option of the page. So in this case, we just do the empty page, which is the same page as here. So I think Appgyver for me is very intuitive, as mentioned. It's quite easy to get started, which I think is really nice. Now, additionally, you can look at here at the different previews across different type of screens from iPhone, iPod, iPad, Android, and web. So here, just see how it looks, the responsiveness. And so far, the responsiveness, I think it's pretty good, in my opinion. It works quite well. Okay, so looking at the top here, this is when you want to launch your application. So when you click here, you can then look at how it looks like, whether you want to do a mobile app, Mac, Android, or you just want to do like a preview in the portal. So you have some different options. Then next you have the theme. So this is the theme of the colors that you want to have as your core of your app. So you can make all the adjustments here. You can also see different variable themes for button, card, checkbox, and many other styles here. So here they have the navigation, which is more for you to create the logic of your navigation header or navigation menu, depending on whether you're using a mobile or web application. Then here you have the data. Now the data where essentially you can do different backend integrations. So this is regarding the data. You have connectors. So they have, for example, directly native with Firebase, which is really cool. So if you want to enable this, you just have to put in your Firebase information in here. They also have plenty of documentation and videos on Firebase specific if you want to use that one. Now looking at the data resource, so here you can choose different type of resources that you want. So they offer client-side storage, which is great especially for mobile applications, but also you have the REST API direct integration. So if you want to use Sano, backendless, or other type of no-code backend solutions. Again, Firebase is here, and then they have some different options as well. And then there's one last thing I want to show with Appgyver. So here you have the toggle between the view. So this is the, let's say, the front-end UI view, and then they have the variables. Now, as you can see here, variables are more where you can hold any type of data. So maybe you want to store the data of the logged in user, so the authentication token. Maybe you want to have some specific backend data stored, or you want something about loading. Also, when you want to fetch data from the backend, you actually have to store it in one of these variables before you can use it. So Draftbit is very similar to Flutterflow. It's about building mobile application. It allows you to do custom function and exporting code. But in this case, it allows you to do it in React Native. Okay, so if we're looking at the pricing of Draftbit, they don't have a free plan, although they do offer a 14-day free trial. So for $15, you can pretty much build up to 3 applications. You can publish to iOS and Android app stores. You have, screen level code export, and then of course with the whole visual building features. With the $15 plan as well, you have actually the integrations as well, API integrations, if I understand correctly, which is not provided by Flutterflow for that price. Now, so you can probably do pretty much everything that you want in most cases for the $15, but they also have the professional plan for the $99. The main thing here, for that amount of money, you then also get that whole project exporting. Okay, now we're looking inside the Draftbit no-code builder. So how it's structured is that on the left-hand side, you have the screens that you're seeing here. You have the theme that you want to go by, navigation, data. I want to make one point here on the data is that they do also have the Firebase. It's a little bit more complex for sure than Flutterflow, but they do have it easily as well. They also have nicely different REST services, just if you want to do Airtable, if you want to do Bubble and so on. Sano backend list. So they kind of created this little nice setup here, I think, which is really helpful. Beyond Firebase, I think Sano and backend list are two very cool no-code backend builders that also, you know, allows you to create that customization and give you the flexibility and control. Now, besides this, if you want to insert components, it comes up here. So here you have the different components. Here you will add the screens, including the different templates that they're already created. This is where you can add your custom function, just like Flutterflow. So they pretty much both offer very similar options. Again, the difference is that this is React Native, while the other one is Dart. And then up here, you can then look at your code that you have created for that specific screen. Again, you have commit as well if you want to use GitHub. So I think it's pretty much similar as well, as mentioned. And then the right-hand side, you can then control the different container layout, the wrapping. Clutch, which is currently in beta. So Clutch, as we see here, is code optional. So it is probably the more developer-minded focused solution of the three that we're looking at today. For example, if you see here, you do have the drag and drop, and they do have a very beautiful interface, I would say. And then also you have the ability to add a lot of custom code and expressions. And where Clutch is very special is very much focusing on the components approach. So how Clutch is working essentially is that you're using React components and marketplace components. So components that usually developers are using, but you can actually use it directly into Clutch, which is quite unique compared to other no-code solutions we've seen out there. Clutch is React focused, so very much on the desktop one, but they do also provide the ability to create mobile apps by wrapping your React code. And also, to my understanding, they're actually looking to support React Native, or at least creating an approach that makes it much easier to build mobile apps in Clutch. And another thing about Clutch is that now Clutch is only focusing on the front end. So they have no backend support directly integrated into Clutch. So instead, it gives you the flexibility to work with any backend very easily as you like. So you can use something more traditional like MongoDB. You can also use no-code backend builders like Sano, Firebase, Canonic. It just depends on what you want to do. And again, when it comes to the hosting and everything, they are very flexible, as in you can publish anywhere that you want, whether it's DigitalOcean, AWS. So they give you that kind of flexibility and control, which so many other no-code builders do not provide. And with Clutch, you can also export your code. So it really is, I think that's a direction of no-code builders that I like. They really give you that flexibility to control so much of your own application. So currently Clutch is, as you know, is in beta. So at least while in beta, it's free. With the free version, you can pretty much do anything that you want from what I see, as well as they provide hosting for $0, which is very neat. So when it comes to the whole visual builder, you get pretty much everything free, pro and enterprise across all of them. So there's no limit from what I've seen. You can even download your source code in the free version, which is pretty awesome, I would say. I haven't seen that with any other builder like Flutterflow and Draftbit. You have to pay at least whatever, $70 to $99 per month to get that ability. So you get a lot of stuff in the free version right now. And what is really exciting, I think, is that you can start importing your files from Figma, and it will then translate to the components inside Clutch, which seem to only come from the Pro plan. But that's, for me, very huge. So I can quickly make something quite beautiful in Figma and then export that into Clutch, and then just add the additional logic to my components in Clutch, which is a huge, I think it will save a lot of time. And I think it will definitely make Clutch stand out if they can actually make it work. And you can also import from NPM, which is the package manager for many programming languages. So that's really cool, right? You have that really a new level of flexibility I've not seen in other no-code solutions, where in many cases you are potentially stuck because of the components that they offer, or the lack of flexibility. Well, with Clutch, you pretty much become a developer to some extent without the need to code in most cases. Now looking into Clutch, the visual builder, the dashboard, what they have. And here you have different things. You have the get started, you have the different projects, and they have this Clutch Essentials, which is a good starting point. This is what I did with Clutch. I was trying out this builder. So with the Clutch Essentials, it gives you sort of a nice interactive guide where you can then get an idea regarding the components, regarding styling, and at least see how to use the Clutch a little bit. Now, to my understanding, they're definitely looking to improve. So it's a pretty good starting point. I mean, it's not as interactive as I personally wanted it to be, but I think it's still a very good starting point. And I've been told from Clutch that they're actually looking right now to create a better onboarding version of this. But it gives you again an idea of regarding inserting components, setting the properties, working with the control. So it will get you at least a good feeling regarding what Clutch can offer. And I think what is also really cool about Clutch is that they provide different templates and they have multiple videos. So do you want to create a weather app? Do you want to do social photos app? And they do this with different backends. So here they use Sano. In this one, they show you how to build a product roadmap with Canonic, another really cool no-code backend builder. So that's really nice. They have these kind of different versions of showing how to build different things. And to my knowledge, they're also working quite hard at the moment to add a lot more templates in the coming months. Okay, so now looking into the canvas of Clutch, this is where you can do whatever you want. You can see the different screens on this one large one, like a Dalo. And when you click on this one, which is the only one I have, right, you can see on the left-hand side, what are the different components that I have within this page. So I have the whole container, then I have these two text. I have my button here with different text actually inside. Now on the right-hand side, this is where you have all the properties and the styling, including the logic that will happen if someone clicks on a button. So you can see that this is a property button. You can even choose the size of the button that I want to use. You can see what children, so you have 3 children connected to this component. And then if you go here, you can then see all the different styles that you can use. So essentially they offer you the ability to style your component and your pages in whatever way that you want to do. I don't think there are many limits to it, to be honest. And then here you also have what is called rules. So you have to put in the rules yourself. So it's not like you have a drag and drop of different rules. You can create a different rule here. So you see here that I have a hover rule. So if I go over this button, coming soon, this is because of this hover rule that has been created here. And you can add multiple rules as you want. And then if you look at the top here, this is where you can add your different components. So there's a plus button. And here you can see that what are the packages that have been installed, as well as what are the marketplace packages that they offer. And you can type different things. So you can type, for example, form. And here, this is where, again, I think is very different from no code as such, is that to this Appgyver, the React components that developers are also using, where you can then see the components that have been installed. So I can, add a form like this. You can see the different ones in the marketplace. So you have a lot of different options of whatever you want to do. So even though it's in beta, from a component perspective, they probably outperform most other no codes, if not all, because they're working with this idea of just importing the React components that developers are using. Gives you that flexibility to use pretty much anything that you want to use. And definitely you can also, on click, you can also add certain module logic if you want to create a module. So here you can do the coding as well. On the click, what do you want to happen? If you know React, then it's also a great opportunity to add a bit of additional logic if you like to. And one thing I want to show as well is that, here you have the guess what text, which you can see here is a text. It has a tag of h1. And you can also, instead of having as a static, you can click on this one and then you can set it to an expression. So if you have some data from your backend or whatever, you can then set that title to the whatever value that you have from your data. So from my understanding so far with Clutch, it offers you a lot of flexibility. Probably the learning curve is greater compared to Appgyver, especially if you're not a developer. And then here on the right hand side, you also have the code mode. Yeah, you can actually see specifically, like as a developer, what do you have in here? You have the package JSON, you have the modules. So that's what I think, again, is very cool about Clutch. This ability of quite intuitively give you a no-code builder, but also give you the ability to code directly in the right-hand panel and export your source code if you want to. So here you have it, 3 interesting no-code React-based solutions. First, Appgyver. With Appgyver, you can build both React and React Native applications, but you don't have the ability to actually export your code. Then the next one we looked at was Draftbit. With Draftbit, you can build React-based applications. So that means you can build mobile applications, and with Draftbit, it gives you the flexibility to actually add custom functions and you can export your source code. Then we have Clutch, which is a bit of a new unique player currently in beta. And with Clutch, it's focusing on building front-end React web applications using different React components, which means you can pretty much style it and create any logic as you want. Now with Clutch, it's a bit like Draftbit towards developers and more tech-focused people, but I believe also with Clutch. So what is my verdict? Well, if I was going to build a web application, I would probably try out Clutch. I know it's a bit different compared to a Dalo, Bobble, and Appgyver, which means there's a bit of a learning curve for someone like myself, but I think it would be worth doing it simply because of the flexibility and the control that Clutch is providing. When it comes to mobile applications, I would consider Draftbit a strong contender along with other ones like Flutterflow and Adalo, but again, it really depends on the mobile application I would be building. And there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and like it. And let me know, have you used such tools before? Do you have any feedback or any comments or questions? Well, let me know below. Again, thank you so much for watching.